Hello guys, welcome back to day number 7. One good news is that we have finished the vector. Last question I haven't done. It's your task, you need to do it. If you can't, then as said in last lecture, please comment it down and we will see if we want to visit it or not, right? So vector is done, basic is done, 2-part is done. It's wonderful. And it's only 7 days done, right? We still need to go a long way, 23 days. I hope you are super motivated to finish this task. We have started something, we need to finish it. Please don't leave in between. I'm not leaving it, right? So you should not. So it's only 30 days. I said in first day only, is only 30 days of hard work, and then for sure you will be in a position from where you can learn, you can develop Verilog, system Verilog, UVM, anything like those verification part from your own, if you just have some knowledge of digital electronics. So that's why these 30 days are very important. I'm helping you to do the initialization, and after 30 days for sure you can alone walk in this road without any difficulties. If there is some difficulties, then I am here always, so don't worry. Okay, so from today onwards things gonna be interesting, things gonna be difficult probably, but interesting because we will see some real life example, not exactly real life, but the example where we actually work. For example, in this module, you can see this module, it is written modules and hierarchy. Modules, we have already know. Hierarchy, probably you know the meaning of English to your mother tongue, what does it mean, but we will still see it, what does it mean. And hierarchy have a very important role in our, like in SOC design, in all modern scenario. Because for example, I'll give you a very small example, because small example are easier to understand than a big, but you can apply it to any big SOC. So the question is that, for example, you want to build a SOC, not SOC, you want to build a chip, and that chip will be a NAND gate, right? And this example I have taken a lot of time. So your NAND gate, how you build? You can build NAND gate directly, but you thought, okay, let's do one thing. We will build a NAND gate like this. We will build a AND gate, and then we will give a NOT gate. So I will have A and B as my input and C as output. So here, if I write the Boolean expression, it will be A plus B and then inversion. So it's your NAND gate. Now, so we can implement this circuit, whole circuit, in one hierarchy only. But in real world, things won't be such simple, right? And if we want to attempt to build everything in the same hierarchy, right? One issue would be your design will be very heavy. Probably all EDA tool will fail to load it. That's the one problem. That's a logistic issue. Another issue, your design can't be reused. For example, here if we go for hierarchy, like I have a module of AND gate and I have a module of NOT, then in my future projects, somewhere if some AND gate is required, I can directly take this AND gate, I can directly take this NOT gate. But if you just build everything in one hierarchy, then probably you need to do some RTL code edits. So in real life, how we approach like modular design, and that is we will define a module which will only have our AND gate. And in the module here, what we have the ports. So probably this is your AND module. You will have input port and then output port. And then we will have another module where we will define our NOT gate. And in that module also, we will have a output port and input port. And then we will have a wrapper module which will call your NAND module, right? So we will define a third module, and inside we will again have the ports for the outside world. And inside, what we will do, we will instantiate our AND module and our NOT module, and we will connect them appropriately. Like we need to connect this output to here, and this output node to the output node of our top module, right? And this input to the input port of our top module, and then this whole thing will become your NAND. The advantage is that here things are structural, like they are modular, so we can directly use this module code for AND gate in future anywhere it's needed. We can directly use our NOT gate, right? And another advantage is that you can assign different engineers for different part of your block. Somebody will design the AND, somebody will design the NOT, and a third person will integrate both of these things. Likewise, in our full chip SOC also, In SoC you have many things. You have the memory block, right? You have the logical block, core part like CPU part. You have the interface, IO part, where your mixed signal things are mostly going on, and there are many other things. So all separate block will be handled by separate engineers or separate group of engineer, and all those engineer, they are called RTL design engineer. They will send their RTL code to another group or another group of engineer who are called RTL design integration engineer. So they will integrate all those blocks of RTL code and they will build the full SoC. So you might have heard of one role which is called SoC design engineer. So SoC design engineer in the front end, mostly they are the RTL integration engineer. They take the blocks from separate design team and then they try to port them, like here we are connecting this thing, right? So this is in a nutshell, or in a very minute way, you can tell it's a work of a SoC design engineer or an integration design engineer. And you will get all this knowledge if we finish this portion of our Verilog lecture, and that is module and hierarchy. So lots of gyan. Let's start with the main thing. And before I start, please don't forget to like the video. We need to have 50 likes in each video. So they are here explaining the same thing what we are discussing for 8 or 7 minutes, odd minutes. So today's first task would be a bit easy. Main thing is that understanding this concept like hierarchy, how things hierarchy are coming on here. So here what they have given us, this thing. They have given us the definition of module. This module is given, and from the definition only we know that it have 3 ports. And as I said many times, from outside world means somebody has designed this one, right? Anytime I got the RTL code for this block, I can't change, I can't make any change inside the RTL block. I don't have the permission. I only have the permission, or I have only the access to the ports it have given to us. And how we know what are the ports are available? From this part of our RTL code or the module definitions. So from here only we can know, hey, we have 2 input and 1 output. From this diagram also we can know the same thing. So these things which we can manipulate in our hand. Now this is here. Now what we need to do? We need to connect this module to another module, top module, and we need to instantiate inside this top module, and then we need to connect the input of this child module to the parents module, input and then the output. That's our task today. Now how we achieve this thing? So to achieve this thing we have 2 formulae actually, like 2 way we can do it. One is by position and another is by name. So I'm not going to the theory, I'll explain you through the code, so it will be more easy for you to understand. So let me directly go to the code. So here they are defining us, this is your top module and the child module is already defined here. This is your child module. You will say, hey, inside the module body there is nothing, we need to know what is going on inside. But as I said, as a integration engineer or as a top module designer, we are designing the top module, right? We are designing this top module. We don't need to know what inside the child module. We just need to know what are the port available, and port available are known from the first line. To define your module, or definition is already there. So to instantiate your module, the first task is that write the module name. So what's the module name they have given to us? The module name is mod A. So we will first write here mod underscore A, and then you need to give an instance name, because mod A, if I write mod A, then that will give us a definition of that mod A, what inside there. But probably we can use 2, 3 or multiple instances of the same module. So that's why our instance name need to be unique. So for example, here I am giving an instance name of IN1. I can do what? I can do this also, mod A and then instance name of I2. I can define any number of module inside a module. And if you want to know the practical scenario how it will be, for example, you need to design a ring oscillator using inverter, 5 inverter. So how we will define then? We will have a module whose name would be inverter, right? Which will be already defined probably, or we only define it, right? And then we will have another module which will be called your ring oscillator. And inside these 5 ring, like we need to define it for 5 time, like this 5 time, 5 inverter, 2 and then 5 inverter. So we will instantiate our inverter module 5 time here. So we'll write inverter A, inverter B, and likewise 5 times. So that's the practical scenario where it's required to instantiate a module multiple times. But for this purpose, we just need to define it for once, and after defining, what we need to do, we need to connect the ports, right? Child port to the outside world port or the top module port. So top module also have 2 input and 1 output, and our task is that connect the child input to the top module input and output to the top module output. So one way is that just connect them by position. So what does I mean? So by position is little tricky, because for by position you need to remember this definition. So here see what is coming first. In one, first 2 input is coming and then the output. So here what we will do, if we want to go for by position, we need to write first 2 input of our top module. So what are those input? A comma B, and then the third should be out. So here it is out, and it is done. This is by position. Let us try it out if we are doing correctly or not, and see, we got a success message. Okay, let's do another thing. This is the one way. Let me just explain you what is happening here. So this is your child module, which have 2 input, in 1, in 2, and the out. And then you have your top module, and top module also have input A and B and then out. So we are just connecting these two here, these two here, and these two there. So this line imply these connections, nothing more than that. And to do this connection, we have 2 ways. One way I have explained to you, but in this first way we have one issue, and the issue is that we need to maintain the order of our assigning. For example, if I write out first and then A and B, then what is happening here? So what our compiler will do, compiler will connect out of your top module to the first input of your child module, and which we don't want. So that's the con of it. We need to remember the order by which the module definition is being formed. Let us submit it and see if we get some error from the Verilog side. And the issue is that actually you won't get any error from the Verilog side. Verilog will tell you, hey, everything is correctly done. There might be some warning, but most of the time we just ignore the warning, so that's why it's dangerous. Here you are seeing it's incorrect, because here HDL bits is helping us because they have a reference design, so that's why we can see incorrect. But in real world, in industry, you don't have a facility like your what called HDL bits, right? So that's why mostly it is not preferred to go with by position connection. Here what is happening actually, if I go by diagram, then your child input is there and your big block is there. You are connecting this input to the out of your top module. One is connected to the in, and this out of child actually connected to the input, another input of your top module. So that's the error we are doing here. So that's why we always go for the second way, and the second way is that order is not important. We will just write the name here. So what we'll write, we'll write out, we'll write dot out equal to out, and then comma, and then we will again go to the definition of our child module. So they have out, they have in1 and in2. So we will, for in1 we will again write dot in1, and then we'll connect one of the input of top module, comma, and the dot into another input of your top module, and I hope it will work. And here you can see we are not maintaining any order, but as we have given the name here, so our compiler won't be confused. Yeah, it will synthesize the circuit in perfect way, and it is also good for debugging purpose. So it is always recommended to go with the second method, like defining using the names. So here see, we are getting a success message. So now you have 2 tasks, and that is you have these 2 problems: connecting ports by position, as I said, right, and then connecting ports by name. So both the way I have shown you in our first example, here you need to replicate this thing. This 2 is your homework, and in our next episode I'll start from these 3 modules. It will be interesting. And the answer for the last episode, actually I have already explained in one of my episodes. So I have already explained the answer in our episode number 4, array, between the array and the vector. Today we don't have any questions, but if you have forgot to like this video, please like, and please subscribe if you haven't. I'll see you in our next video. Till then, tata, bye bye, and keep smiling.